Hi everyone, so here we are on the Housing Placement tab for the 2020-2021 data collection for the government. So here, when talking about housing placement, the government really want to see a housing placement that occur. We'll see different possibilities as for housing placement later on. First of all, you will have to enter the client ID, so it can either be some numbers, some letters, some initials, and you also have to create one for each member of family. So here we have Smith with their family name and number for each member of this family. Afterwards, in column B, you will have to enter the date where they started searching for a house. So here, for example, the client 111 started searching on the 19th of April 2020. And afterwards, they were placed on the 17th of July. This is going to be a date input in the column C. When inputting any information in column C, it will automatically generate the column D and F. Column D will be the number of days between when the client started searching and when they were placed. Afterwards, you will have to go on column E and select in the drop-down menu the situation that matches the best your clients. So if ever you have many situations that could be possible, just pick the one that would be the most important. Let's just say it that way. So could either be like from street to permanent supported housing, emergency shelter to transitional housing. And here let's go with in homelessness to transitional housing. So you just click on it. Thirds are going to have a 12-month follow-up date, which we would talk about later on. Afterwards, you will have to enter any demographic information that you have on the client. So here for the gender, you will have a drop-down menu, just selecting it. And afterwards, you have to input a 1 for any characteristic that matches your client. So either they have a disability, they're indigenous, an immigrant, or a refugee. They could also be a veteran. Afterwards, you have to select the age of your client. So either children, you input 1. For a youth, you have to select in the drop-down menu. And also, if ever it's an adult or a senior, just input a 1. Here, like you probably saw, we have the client ID 111 and again. So here, for example, we've had 2 interventions during the year. So the second intervention was on the 29th of October 2020, and they were placed in the beginning of December. So here you're going to have the number of days placed. You choose the reason in the drop-down menu. Then you enter any demographic information. So if I go back to column F, you will then have two 12-month follow-up dates. But we are only looking at the first intervention. So the follow-up for this client will only occur once on the 18th of July 2020-2021. And those information will have to be reported in the 2021-2022 spreadsheet. So this is something to keep in mind, that next year you're going to have to enter those information even if your project is not active anymore. So with the Reach and Home COVID Fund. Also, since we don't know at this point if the fund will be extended after March 31st, so there is still a possibility that you will have to report more for the 2021-2022 fiscal year. So if ever you have any clients that started searching during the year, just enter their client ID and the date they started searching. You can also enter any demographic information that you have on the client, just so you're all ready. Well, you have to wait until the client has been placed, as it seems. Yeah. So if the client was not placed, you cannot enter any demographic information, sorry. But you can still keep the client in your spreadsheet just so you know if ever they started searching. Then, if they were placed in the next fiscal year, you will already have some information about them. Also, since we don't know if it will go beyond March 31st. In the possibility that it won't, and that the project would all stop on March 31st, you will then don't have to report on those individuals that were not placed, and you will only have to remove those information at the end. But you can keep them until we have the certification from the government that the end of this fiscal year will be the end of all reaching home COVID-19 projects. So after filling out this tab, you only have to click on create a summary table. Here we go. This is going to bring you to the housing placement summary. So here you don't have to enter any information. It's only for administrative use. But the button that we clicked on will generate automatically the days place summary and the demographic compilation number 1. So in those tabs, you don't have to enter any information. And also, if ever you add any more information in the housing placement tab, you only have to click on the button as much as you want to refresh the following tables. Just to give you an idea, since you're going to have to do the 12-month follow-up in 2021, you will have to answer to those questions. So currently, in the 2020-2021 spreadsheet, you don't have to answer to anything in this tab. This tab should stay blank, but only to give you some information about what you should fill out in the upcoming fiscal year. You will then have to keep in mind to ask your client about what is their housing situation at the 12-month follow-up date. So they can either be no longer housed at 12 months, and then you will need to know the reason between return to homelessness, spend some time in a public institution, deceased, unable to contact, or other. Also, the client could either successfully exited at or any time before 12 months. So this is a situation where the client has probably left their situation to go into something better, and they won't require any more help from your organization or your project. So if they have their own house right now and they are financially sustainable, or else you can have the possibility number 3, where the individual was housed at 12 months but still required some support. So they have a house, but they will probably need more support from you in the upcoming month. Lastly, you will have to know if the client was housed 2 or more times in the previous 12 months. So from the date where the client was placed for their first intervention up until the end of the 12-month follow-up, has there been any more intervention? So if their housing situation has changed, you input a 1 over here, and then you input a 1 for the reasons. Either they returned to homelessness, they acquired a more appropriate housing, or they spent some time in a public institution. Also, you have the other over here, if ever you don't know or the situation is not listed previously. So just to keep in mind, those are going to be the information that you will have to fill out on the 2021-2022 spreadsheet. So here you go. And this, after filling out this tab, it's going to as well generate some tab. But then I don't want to mix it all up, but for 2020, 2021, so this spreadsheet, you should not have any information, but then keep it in mind in your own personal folder for the organization that you will have to ask those questions at some follow-up dates. So here you go for the housing placement tab. Have a nice day.